Hello and welcome back to Sales and Marketing India, where we discuss strategies and concepts which help founders increase their business. Today's video will talk about market sizing. Now, whether you are a budding founder who is still in the planning stage or whether you are running your business already, you must have heard the term market sizing. And even if you've not heard the term, for those of you who are in some stage of advanced planning or are already running operations, you would have done market sizing in one way or the other. So, what is market sizing? Basically, it's your potential customers. That's the most basic definition, fundamental concept which you need to understand, that it's just the amount or the quantity of product or service which you can sell, right? Now, yeah, that's that's the most simple and fundamental explanation for this. And now, why we need this information before we jump into how exactly do we do market sizing? Just want to make it clear that we need this information for both strategic and tactical planning, right? So even for simple business, right, like even if you are doing a business as simple as selling daily milk and bread and eggs in, say, one society, you need to know how many people stay in that society, how much is the daily consumption, right? You need to have some rough idea. Only then you can plan that, in this society per day 100 bread loaves are sold. So as a seller of breads, you would maybe daily get 90 or 110 around that figure of bread loaf, so that on an average you sell out 100 of bread loaves, right? So while we are in the stage of analyzing our business plan, or we are in the initial stages of doing our pilots, we need to identify how big your business can be, right? Like what's the maximum potential of the industry or the specific product or services that you are working on, right? And as I mentioned, this figure will give you an idea of how to plan about your strategic uh, uh, planning, right? In terms of marketing, sales, or in terms of just business development, or what kind of geographies you need to target, what kind of value chain you need to have, right? Only when you know how much you have to sell is then when you can plan all this. And also, as I mentioned, even if you are in the earlier stages, you are a smaller business, you need this number approximation to do tactical planning, as I just explained with my bread seller example. So let's jump into what are the broad ways through which you can do market sizing. Let's start with the first approach, which is the top-down approach. Now, in top-down approach, you have an idea of the total addressable market, right? Now, this is something which is, you can say, your the universe of your product or service which you want to sell, right? Universe as in all the potential customers who can buy your product, or you can say this is the universe of a superset, right, of your niche segment or the target segment which you want to target, right? So maybe I'll explain this with an example. I think it will be easier. So let's say you are making uh, you're designing or developing a new AI software which solves complex maths problems, right? Like let's understand this with this example. So the broad steps in top to down market sizing are that you, as I said, you identify your total addressable market. Then you, within that addressable market, you uh, create different niche segments, right? And these are the niche segments which you exactly want to target. Plus, these are the segments which are similar to your core target segment, right? So basically, you identify the total addressable market and then you break it down to segments. And lastly, you make from those segments, you identify your uh, addressable, customers. You make subset of your addressable customers, which you would, um, you know, sell to eventually. That's the assumption which you make. So now in this approach, while doing top-down market sizing, you would have to do a lot of secondary research, right? You would have access to ideally market research reports. You might use, certain assumptions based on primary data, but primarily you would need access to secondary research and reports and uh, growth rate, uh, predicted or estimated growth rate of the total addressable market which we are talking about, right? So let's go back to the example of the new AI software which say you are working on. So let's say that this new AI software which you're working on, it solves complex maths problems, right? So maybe you've already made the MVP or you are in advanced stages of making the MVP. Now the question in front of you is, the exercise is that how many customers would end up using this AI software at scale, right? So if, while again in top-down approach, since we are doing, as I said, it's more of a secondary research based exercise which we are doing based on assumptions and market related, industry related reports and figures. There could be multiple approaches for top down market sizing which you would want to pick up for your specific product. In the same way, in the example which I just took, the new AI software, there could be multiple approaches. Let me start with one approach, right? So let's say that I will start with the total addressable market size estimation. So now I know that the basic question which I will start with is that who solves complex maths problems, right? It's either the students who are studying mathematics at an advanced level, maybe people who are pursuing their postgraduate studies in mathematics or physics, or one segment could be professors, right? Professors or teachers who are doing research in this field, right? So basically your research, all the research professionals. Then one addressable market, third broad addressable market could be scientists, right? Who are working on, say, applied mathematic problems, and in their daily life, routine life, they also solve complex maths problems, right? So now basically these are the three broad addressable markets which I have identified. I will now look for secondary reports. Say I'm planning to sell only in India. I will now access the secondary reports. I will figure out how many, students are studying maths at a postgraduate or maybe at a even higher level than postgraduate level. How many students in India are studying advanced mathematics? How many research professionals who are in the related fields who would need to solve such complex maths problem on a regular basis. And lastly, as I said, I would refer to do secondary research and figure out that what are the approximate number of scientists who work on applied mathematics problem. I know that this is a tedious exercise, looking up all these secondary researches, and in this step it's not necessary that you will always find this data readily available. Even at this stage, a lot of times you would have to make proxies, right? Like maybe you get data for say one university, and then you extrapolate to identify how many such universities are there, and from that extrapolation you figure out the total number of students. That's just one example I'm giving. You will have to follow similar approach in all the three broad segments which we identified, right? So now I have this figure, right? From all those three segments, say I identify 100, 100, 100 for the sake of simplicity. Now I know right now 300 people are there currently in say in 2023 who are my addressable market, who can use this AI software. And then from there I will do rough estimations if I have access to industry estimations, or if I have access to what was this 100, 100, 100 same figure in the previous years, right? Basis that I will make approximations for, say I want to do market sizing for next 5 years. I will do a basic approximation for the next 5 years. I will have identify that growth percentage. Basis that I will have the total addressable market for the current year and the next 5 year, right? And then now I can say that this is my total addressable market, right? And maybe in the first phase, in year 1, I will target only the students, and then in phase 2 I will start targeting the research professionals, and then maybe in the last phase I will target the research scientists. So this top-down approach gave you a rough estimation of how what's the total addressable market size out there. And once you identified that those segments, and you identified what is the total potential on each of these segments, right? So while I said 100, 100, 100 for sake of simplicity, when in real life you do these analysis, you will figure out that students may be higher, scientists may be lower, but purchase capacity higher, right? So this is the top-down approach, and I hope that with this very basic example, you got a rough idea of how exactly top-down works. And as I mentioned, it does involve like fair share of approximations and extrapolations when you do it for your specific product or service. Starting with the second approach, which is the bottom-up approach. Now this approach is opposite of the way we work out the market sizing in top to down. Now in bottom up, we have granular data, right? And then we add it up to make predictions of our market size, right? So let's say you have an apparel startup, right? Apparel startup brand, and you want to do a market sizing of the next 5 years. Okay, so let's assume right now you are selling only in North India, right? So for North India, you have the data that you sell in say X number of stores, and you sell per year Y number of units from these X number of stores, right? So now for a bottom-up approach, you would do similar exercise for all the geographies which you want to cover in the next, say, 5 years, as I mentioned. So let's say that your strategic plan is that in the next 5 years, in North India, you are already there. You will increase the number of stores in North India from X to X plus Y, and you will also target, say, another Z number of stores in West India, right? So now you would have to do a lot of primary research to understand that, first of all, how many stores, more number of stores you can target in North India, how many units are sold there on an average, how many number of units were sold in previous years, and basis that you will make prediction for the next 5 years. And then you will do similar exercise. You will have to do primary research, going to making out granular level details of how many stores are there in West India with Cell Apparel, how many stores you can realistically target, and how many units are sold from the stores which you target, right? So now you have, for the first geography and the second geography, you add these numbers and you get your market sizing for the next 5 years, right? So now here, of course, the assumption is that you will sell only offline. In real world, of course, in the next 5 years, you would maybe want to start other channels as well. You might want to start online, or you might want to start supplying B2B as well. But for the sake of understanding, let's say for the next 5 years, you will sell only offline, and the way you do market sizing is how I've explained, right? So now how this is different with respect to top down is that in top down, you just identified the total addressable market size, broke it down basis assumptions which you have made, and did predictions basis secondary research and the market estimations plus your own hypothesis and assumptions. In bottom up, you will rely more on real data, right? Like how much selling is already being done, right? And if you're developing a product or service which is say something very new which is not being sold currently, so then in that case, in bottom up approach, you will consider sales or performance of something, product or service, which can be a good proxy for whatever you are working on, right? So yeah, those are broadly two approaches. One more thing I wanted to explain in bottom up is that while doing bottom up and actually top down also, when you arrive at the final number, right, you are restricted by the number of resources you can deploy, right? So for example, in your second case, the apparel business case, you end up identifying that in the next 5 years, there are potentially 500 stores where I can stock my units, right? But then when you do realistic calculation, you realize that you don't have or you won't be able to employ the kind of sales team or the operations team you need to target 500 stores, right? That could be one roadblock. Say for 500, your calculation says that you need a sales team of 50, but you can employ only 20. So now your 500 figure comes down proportionally. Similarly, say in the second case, the apparel business example, you are the manufacturer as well, right? So you arrive at a figure of whatever, say 1,000 units you have to sell in the next 5 years, but you don't have the resources to manufacture those 1,000 units, right? You know your starting point. Accordingly, your market sizing for the next 5 years will come down, right? So that's why in the long run, we use a mix of both, correct? So maybe when you're business or your idea is new, you start with top-down approach, do a proper lay of land, identify what secondary research, what market industry reports suggest, identify those segments, and then maybe for those identified segments do a thorough bottom-up primary research, and then arrive at your market sizing. Another way you use mix of both in the long run is that as your business grows and scales, there would be product and services which you grow incrementally, right? Like you see, reach a certain number and then from there you grow. So once you reach a certain target, to reach that target, maybe you use top-down approach. From after that threshold, when you get a certain sense of your resources and how the market is reacting, from there on you deploy bottom up, because now from your own sales, from your own performance, you have historic data to which can form as a base for your bottom up market sizing. And in the same business, whenever you introduce any new product line or a new addition to your portfolio, then you can go back and do top down for that specific product, and once it scales to a certain level, you do a bottom up market sizing for that as well. So these are the two approaches. I hope I was able to make it clear. I know that theoretically this could be a little challenging to understand if you have not done such exercises yourself. One recommendation which I can give, if you want to just understand how these calculations and figures work, is maybe understand in management there's this concept of guesstimates, right? You just Google guesstimate exercises, you will see a lot of exercises, how market sizing numbers are derived from starting from a bigger universe, from a bigger total addressable market. So once you get a sense of those kind of exercises, I'm sure you'll be able to do approximate market sizing for your business as well in the starting stage. And then as you grow and as you scale, you will of course have data from your own sales to form a basis for bottom up market sizing. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.